Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting rational expressions. Hopefully we remember that when we're adding rational expressions, we need a common denominator. And if we have that common denominator, we just add the two numerators together. Same with subtraction. But now, if you don't have a common denominator, we have to find that common denominator. And one way that always works is just to multiply the two denominators together. So notice we would have to multiply this first one on top and bottom by D, and then top and bottom by C in the second one in order to get our common denominator. Now that may not create the least common denominator, but it will get you to your answer, and you'll just have to do more reducing later on. But we're going to try to actually get a common or least common denominator instead of just multiplying the two together. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to start off here and make sure you remember how to find that least common denominator. So remember, we got to factor stuff. So with the first one here, I'm going to underline in black. I'm going to write that out. 6 is 2 times 3. And then we got 3 x's. It's an x. And I'm going to run out of room. We don't really need to write them out one by one. Then 8 is 2 times 4. And 4 is 2 times 2. And again, I'm not going to write them out this time. I think we're past that. So we look for the most number of 2's. Well, that is right here. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then the most number of 3's is a 1. The most number of x's, we got 5 of them right there. And then the most number of y's, y to the 4th right there. So our least common denominator here would be 24 x to the 5th, y to the 4th. So with B, notice we're going to have to do some actual factoring here as well. We got x squared minus 9. So if we wanted to factor the x squared minus 9, we need two numbers to multiply together to give us negative 9, but add it to be 0. So that would be positive 3 and negative 3. Now, at the second trinomial there, we got our quadratic. We got x squared minus 2x minus 15. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 15, but add up to be negative 2. So we'd have x minus 5 times x plus 3. So now we have to go through and look for what they have in common and which one has the most of what and all that fun stuff for our least common denominator. So we're just going to start off with the x plus 3's. Well, they both share 1x plus 3. Now, so we took care of that, and they both share, the one on top has an x minus 3. And then the one on bottom here has an x minus 5. So that would be our least common denominator for that problem. Okay, so for this last one, we've got to do the same thing. So I'm not going to write out all the a plus 1's. We're just going to keep them squared into the third power. So 5 is already prime. So this one's good to go. But 16 there, we'd have to do 2 times 8. 8 is 2 times 4. And 4 is 2 times 2, right? So that would be 2 to the 4th is 16. And then a plus 1 cubed. Now 10 is 2 times 5. And we got a plus 1. So I got to take the biggest amounts of each thing in these problems here. So we got what, 2 to the 4th. We got 1, 5. And then looks like 3 a plus 1's. So that would give us 16 times 5. So that'd be 80 a plus 1 cubed. And that would be our least common denominator. So this is essentially the same type of problem as before, except it's in fractions. So we're just going to take what's in their denominators and find their least common denominator just like we did by factoring. Some of you might even be able to look at. So I'm going to factor 4a squared b. Be what, 2 times 2a squared b. And then I'm going to do the next one here, 6ab cubed. That's 2 times 3ab cubed. So now I just say, well, who has the most 2's? The first one does, and there's 2 of them. Second one has a 3. Most number of A's is 2, and the most number of B's is 3. So that would be 12A squared B cubed. That would be our common denominator. All right, so for this next one, we're going to have to factor these two trinomials. Still not that bad. So we need two numbers that multiply together give us -2, but that would be -1. X minus 2 times x plus 1. And then we need to find two numbers that multiply together give us -10, but add up to be +3. So it'd be x plus 5 times x minus 2. So now we've got to go through and find our least common denominator. So we've got an x minus 2 in both of them, so I'm going to put that down. And then there's an x plus 1 in the first one. And then there's an x plus 5 in the second one. So that would be our common denominator, or least common denominator. All right, so now we're actually going to get into it and add some fractions. Fun stuff, right? So we're going to start off here. We're going to do the exact same thing. If you don't want to find the least common denominator, or you can see it in your head, you don't have to work all this out, but it will make your answers come out with less reducing if you take the least common denominator route. So 6. 6 is 2 times 3. Then 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So our least common denominator here would be, get another color out here, 2 cubed times 3. So 8 times 3 is 24. So that means we need to multiply this fraction by 4 on top and bottom to make it 24, and this one by 3 on top and bottom to make it 24. So now I'm going to do 4 times 5x, 20x, plus 3x times 3, that's 9x. Now they're all over 24, right? That's how we can combine them. So 20 plus 9 is 29x all over 24. A couple different ways. So does that reduce it all? No, it doesn't. Good. So again, you could have multiplied the first fraction by 8 and top and bottom, the second fraction by 6. Then you just would have more reducing to do at this last step. You would definitely have to reduce it. All right, so let's try B. So this has got a variable in it. So prime factorization of 2a is 2a. Prime factorization of 3a squared is, 3a squared. So our least common denominator is going to be a 1, 2, 1, 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then an a squared. So that means we got to multiply this one by 2 on top and bottom, and this guy by 3a on top and bottom. So we got 3a times 1 is 3a. 1 times 2 is 2. And then it's all over 6a squared. So 3a plus 2, we can't combine because they're not like terms. Can't reduce anything. So that would be our answer. All right, so the next one, notice we have a binomial in each one. And we don't have to write this one out because basically we've got to take this guy and multiply it by the binomial in the second denominator. Then we got to multiply this one by the binomial in the first denominator. Don't forget, we got to do FOIL or the box method, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the numerators first. So I've got 2 times x, 2 times 1. So it's going to be 2x plus 2. I don't want to forget about this negative here. So it's -3 times x. Then -3 times -2. All over. So we're going to do, I'm going to do the FOIL method just so I don't have to write out of the box. So I do first times first, gives me x squared. Then I do, that's where the x squared came from. Then I do outer and get -2x. I do inner and get +1x. That adds up to be -1x. And then I do last times last, and I get -2. All right, so let's combine our like terms on the top. We got 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. 2 plus 6 is positive 8, all over our new denominator of x squared minus x minus 2. So now we're really going to kind of mix things up and see how we do here. So we've got a 2y plus 3 over y plus 1. So obviously we're missing the y plus 1 right here. So we've got to multiply the top and the bottom by y plus 1. So we're going to do 2y times y. That's going to give us 2y squared. And then we got there plus 2y plus our 3 there, all over y plus 1. All right. So could look at this and say, can we factor it? Because maybe it could reduce, but it doesn't. We can see from when we started that it's not going to reduce. So sometimes these answers look kind of nasty, but they're not too hard to get to. So let's move on to problem B. So this one, again, looks a little bit uglier. So I'm just going to start off and talk about the factoring of these two. So this one, these two numbers that multiplied are going to be 4, but add up to be 4. Well, that's x plus 2 times x plus 2, right? Oops. Plus 2. And this one factored is x. I'm having trouble writing today. Scribble all that out. So x plus 2 times x minus 2. These two numbers multiplied are going to be negative 4, but added to be 0. So our greatest common factor here would be x minus 2 times x plus 2 squared. That would be our LCD. So that means we got to multiply the first one by, you guessed it, the x minus 2. So that's what I'm going to put. I'm going to pretend like I'm writing it right here and right here. So that's going to say 1 times x minus 2 is just x minus 2. And then what do we got to multiply this one by? The x plus 2, right? So the second one here, so she used different colors so you know what I'm talking about. Notice it's missing the x plus, one of the x plus 2's. So we're going to multiply this one by the x plus 2 up here. Again, we're not going to forget about that negative sign. We're going to bring it down with us. So I'm going to bring it down. So now we got to do FOIL here. First times first is x squared. I'm going to put parentheses around it. Outer gives me 2x. Inner gives me 1x, which makes 3x. And last times last gives me a 2. So now notice we've got to distribute this negative sign through to everything. So we have x minus 2 minus x squared minus 3x minus 2. So we can simplify this a little bit more now and make it, I'm going to put my negative x squared out in front. Then we have x minus 3x is negative 2x. And then negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. So now I'm going to put my denominator back here since I'm done reducing it. I just didn't want to write the denominator, 5 times. So this is all over x minus 2 times x plus 2 squared. And that will be our final answer. All right, so C, we have 3 different rational expressions we need to combine. So this one's going to be even more fun. So we don't need to worry about the T because that's basically factored. That's factored. So we've got to factor this guy right here. So hopefully we look at that and say, well, I got a T in common. So it's T times T plus 2, right? So now we just need to figure out what our least common denominator is going to be. So I'm just going to keep working that out over here. So let's go through and look at it. Well, it needs to have a T, right? And we need to have a T plus 2. And that would be our common denominator. So the last rational expression has the denominator we need. Second one, we've got to multiply everything by, it'd be hard for me to squeeze this in. So I'm going to do this. We're going to multiply this by, all this by T. And then this one, we're going to have to multiply by T plus 2, right? Good. So now let's go ahead and work that out. So I'm going to multiply 3 times t plus 2. That's going to give me 3t plus 6. And then I've got minus 2 times t. So it'll be minus 2t. And then plus 4, because that already has the denominator we want, all over t times t plus 1. Trying to make my t's not look like plus signs. So let's combine our like terms and be done with this. We got 3t minus 2t, 1t. 6 plus 4 is 10, all over t times t plus 1. And we are done.